So today we're going to dive into a really personal story that's set against, well, one of the biggest historical backdrops imaginable. This is all about Betty Carringer and Fred Seaver and how their relationship just took off in those last few kind of quiet months of 1941, right before the world completely changed for every single American. All right, so our story really kicks off with Betty. She's a 22-year-old teacher in San Diego, and in August of 41, she says this. It's just one sentence, but it perfectly captures this huge turning point in her life. It's this moment of self-awareness that's really sparked by a brand new romance. So what was the spark for all this? Well, it was a totally spontaneous trip. Fred, her new boyfriend, casually suggests, hey, let's cross the border from San Diego into Tijuana for the afternoon. Go to the horse races. Now for Betty, this wasn't just, a quick drive down the road. This was like leaping into a whole other world. You have to imagine, the culture shock for Betty was huge. Her entire life had been this predictable, comfortable routine in San Diego. And now, all of a sudden, she's in Tijuana, a place that's just an explosion for the senses. You've got vibrant colors everywhere, this chaotic energy. This trip across a literal border becomes this really powerful metaphor for the personal boundaries she was also just starting to cross. And Fred, he can totally see her hesitation, so he says this to her, kind of playfully. Live dangerously, Betty Carringer. And this little line, it pretty much becomes the theme for their whole relationship. He's always the one opening doors to new experiences, and Betty, with his encouragement, she bravely steps right through them. So in just one single afternoon, think about this. Betty racks up all these new experiences. Each one of these firsts might seem kind of small on its own, but you put them all together, and they represent this massive shift. She's not just looking at a new world anymore. She's actually participating in it, really pushing the edges of that sheltered life she knew. And at the end of it all, Betty puts it perfectly. This is what she realizes. Her relationship with Fred isn't just about, holding hands and affection. It's about expansion. He is literally broadening her horizons, showing her a world that is so much bigger and more complex than she ever knew. Okay, so fast forward to the next month, and you can see how this all starts to build. After the novelty of Tijuana wears off a bit, their relationship really starts to deepen. They go from these one-off adventures to actually creating shared rituals, shared interests. And the perfect example of this? A trip to see the San Diego Padres play baseball. But here's the thing. Betty gets to the ballpark, and she is completely clueless. She's never been to a game in her life. She doesn't understand the first thing about it. All her questions just show you where she's starting from. Total confusion. She's an outsider just looking in on this world that has its own weird rules and its own language. What happens next, over just a few hours, is pretty amazing. You can literally track her journey from being this curious student to a full-on passionate fan. She starts with the basic questions, right? Then she moves to actually keeping score. And by the 7th inning, she is so invested, she is on her feet yelling at the umpire. This isn't just passive learning, this is total immersion. I mean, can't you just hear the passion in her voice? The woman who just a couple hours ago didn't know what a strike was is now arguing the fine points of a play at second base. It's just a funny, really telling moment that shows how completely she has thrown herself into this new, shared experience. And Fred, he's watching all this unfold, and he sees something really important about her. His observation, it just gets right to the heart of why they connect so deeply. He sees that Betty doesn't do anything halfway. It doesn't matter if it's teaching, or her art, or learning baseball. She commits 100%. And he realizes that's exactly how she's approaching their relationship, too. All right, this next part, this is really the heart of their story. It's October now, Fred's turning 30, and what starts as just a quiet birthday dinner turns into this moment of profound commitment. And all of this is happening while the world outside is getting darker and darker. You can just feel the atmosphere of this evening, right? On one hand, you have the warmth and the intimacy of a home-cooked birthday dinner. She makes his favorite, pot roast. But layered right on top of that is this undeniable tension. They can't just ignore the news they're hearing about Hitler, about Japan. And the conversation about war, it shows Fred's vulnerable side, his fears about a future that feels so uncertain. And then, while they're out on their walk, in the quiet of the neighborhood, Fred he lays it all out there. He's not talking in maybes or what-ifs. He's speaking in absolute certainties. This isn't just him saying, I love you. It's a vision of an entire life he wants to build. A life that stands in direct opposition to the uncertainty of the world. And then he follows that up by making it a rock-solid promise. He knows the practical stuff. He's got to save for a ring, he has to talk to her father, but the decision in his mind is made. I'm going to marry you. In a world that's just teetering on the edge of chaos, he offers her the one thing he knows he can control: his absolute, total commitment. So let's just take a step back and look at what's happening here. This intensely personal promise of a future together, it's being made at the exact moment when the world's future has never been more in doubt. And this is the detail that just gives you chills. October 15th, 1941. They have absolutely no idea that in less than 8 weeks, their country will be at war. That the future they just so carefully planned is about to be thrown into complete and utter turmoil. Their private little world of pot roasts and baseball games is about to collide head-on with global history. So that really leaves us with this big question, doesn't it? What does it mean to plan a future, to make a promise like that, knowing your entire world is about to change forever? Is it an act of defiance? Is it an act of faith? Or is it maybe just what people do, find love and build a life, even when the very ground beneath them is about to shake? It's just a reminder that history isn't just about dates and battles. It's about the real, personal lives lived in the shadow of these huge events.